everyone. First things first, thank you so much for coming. It is very, very kind of you. I feel like Bilbo in Lord of the Rings a bit. Today's my 25th birthday! It's actually tomorrow, but just thank you so much. I figured nobody would come to Streatham twice in the space of a week, so get it all done in one. So thank you so much for coming, everyone. It's incredibly kind of you all. So basically, this evening, what me and Tom decided that we would like to do is we have a show going up to Edinburgh for the Fringe Festival in August, and we desperately needed to make sure it's not rubbish. So fingers crossed that's the case, and we thought that you lovely people might be the best people to try it out with. So another huge thank you for listening to us for the next sort of wee while. Essentially the way it's going to run is we have one half, then there'll be an interval. I've never felt more fancy in my life saying that I have an interval. I think I've made it. We have an interval. We have an interval. So, these guys are actual drama people, so I think an interval means you've made it, doesn't it? Yes. So we've got an interval. We've got an interval, and then there'll be another half, and that'll be it. That's how halves work. So, essentially, this is preview. This is the first time we've performed this live. We've done quite a lot of practicing, but we hope it will be all right. This is not the complete sort of look. So, myself, Tom, and then two other musicians form the Bedtime Stories Collective, and we are a storytelling group with live music. So joining us up in Edinburgh, you're going to have to imagine while this is going on, you have to imagine a wonderful harper and a wonderful guitarist and singer. And you're also going to have to imagine that me and Tom are more talented than we are. Very important you do that. But otherwise, the story that I have to tell you is one that I have written. It's one that hopefully you won't have heard before. It's a story that I'm quite happy with, and I love it very much. As everybody knows, in the outside world, I don't know why Streatham, it's not just Streatham, the whole outside world is quite sad and miserable at the moment. So this is hopefully a story of hope for unhopeful times. And it's a story that follows on from last year at the Fringe. So last year at the Fringe, we had a show where it began with a father telling bedtime stories to his son. And that was the whole premise, and all the stories woven in and out of that. So it seemed only fitting that this year it should begin with a mother telling a bedtime story to her daughter. And so, that is where we begin. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming. So, as I say, we begin with a daughter and a mother. The daughter has had one of those days at school. She's about 14, 15 years old. We all remember being 14, 15. It was horrible. Terrible time. Stressful. Everything's going on. Nothing makes sense. Not easy at all. So the daughter has just had one of those days. And she comes back to her mother. And she explains everything. They're very close, you see. So the story comes tumbling from her lips quickly. She tells of how everyone's just so angry all the time. It's hormones, but she doesn't know. Everyone's angry and complaining. The world just seems full of bitterness and hatred. And no matter how kind anyone is, does it really make a difference? Is there any point to being kind? And then on top of that, she can't work out where she fits. I'm sure each and every one of you have had that moment of going, where do I fit in this world? There's so much and everyone seems so grounded. Where am I meant to be? And then, on top of that, boys and girls alike have been asking her out romantic. And she's really not sure if that's something she's interested in. She doesn't know if she should date boys or girls or anyone at all, and it's just very confusing. Her mother takes all of this in and looks at her and says, "My darling daughter, I do not have answers for your question. Nobody does. I do have a story. Would you like to hear it?" And our daughter looks back at her mother. A bit of a frown. Why would a story, like something you do when I was 5, be the answer to quite serious adult problems? What makes you, replied her mother, think that I would tell a story for a 5-year-old to you now? The daughter frowned and then smiled, secretly relishing the chance to listen to one of her stories again. And so, later on that evening, The daughter was tucked up in bed, and her mother was sat next to her. 4 cups of tea were present, because as a very good friend once told me, what 1 cup of tea won't solve, 2 probably will, or something to that effect. The mother began her story. This, my darling daughter, is a very old story. Older than you and I put together. Older than our elders and their elders still. It's a story of a little girl, of a star, and of the end of all things. Our story cannot be told without understanding the love of the sun for the moon. So we will begin there. The sun and the moon, you see, are the oldest lovers in the universe. So this first tale is a tale of how the sun and the moon got their names, of why there are stars in the night sky, and how the eclipse came to be. Ages passed. There were 2 young lovers. She was called Sun, and he was called Moon. And they loved each other so deeply. But they were kept apart by their family, seeing them better fitted to different services. So they went to the great God of the sky, who is both Lord of justice, but also a master of trickery and cunning. They hoped he would pity and not deceive. So they told him their tale, and yet he was unmoved, claiming he was unconvinced by the story of their love. So Sun declared that Moon was the light of night to her, and Moon declared that Sun was the light of day to him, and the 2 should forever be connected and never kept apart. The great God of the sky laughed heartily. Indeed, they should not. And he agreed that Sun and Moon would be separated by their families no longer, and in fact would be bound by the very synergy of the universe. So, Sun and Moon rejoiced, but too soon. For the great God of the sky's pity was both cruel and kind in his reality. He liked the metaphor of night and day so much that he made it so. The sun became the light of day, and moon the pale light of night. The 2 forever to be connected, but never to meet again. In those days gone by, it was said the moon looked lonely in the dark sky, for there were no stars there, just a black canvas. And sun, she burned less brightly than she does today, and was off to hide herself behind clouds. And all was this way for a very long time. Until one day, sun was shining in the sky, and moon appeared from nowhere. For the goddess of kindness and love, the great God of the sky's wife, had given moon power. She had taken genuine pity on our young one, and given moon the power to transcend the blue reaches of the daytime heavens. And for the first time in his life, moon saw sunlight. And for the first time in a long time, moon saw his son, and the sun saw moon. They embraced. And that evening, something new appeared in the night sky. It was a small star, and it shined bright like the eyes of a newborn day. And with this act of love, even the great God of the sky wilted hostility. And he agreed that sun and moon should meet once a year, and every time they met, a new star was born. Like I said, it used to be the case that moon would only the dark skies. If you look up on a clear night, okay, not in London, there's too much pollution. If you look up on a clear night, you will see the moon is not gone. He's surrounded by the children and memories of infinite meeting that will go on eternally. Until the very light of day must die. And on that day, Moon will build a bridge of stars. And he will cascade down into the arms of his lover sun one last time. At the point of the world's passing in the pale, milky twilight. That shall not come to pass for many ages. But now you know of the sun's love for her moon. And so we can start our tale properly. It did not begin on a dark and stormy night. No. In fact, the skies were clear, and the stars were shimmering like the setting sun on the sea. The moon was silver and bright and smiling. A gentle breeze filtered through trees and leaves, and all was at peace. But then, as if stepping like an actor onto a stage from wings invisible, was a man. And he unfurled from great dark sleeves 2 pale hands, and then lifted a hood from his head, and revealed pearl white eyes and a crooked grin. Back to his hands, he whispered ancient words, and gave fly to a cloud. And this cloud was grey and thick and began to grow. And the higher it reached into the skies, the bigger it got. Those shimmering stars were obscured as the cloud reached with wispy fingers towards the moon. It got further and further until it could wrap those wisps around, and they got tighter and tighter until eventually a flicker of black lightning, and tighter still, and then a cry. The sun was sleeping. Even if she had been awake, she could not have saved him. The moon was gone from the sky, and the cloud began to drift down, shrinking as it did. And eventually it came to rest in the pale man's hands. He grinned that crooked grin, and he whispered more words to himself, and from his left hand he blew it back, and it started to grow again. And in his right was the moon, fit perfect. One more grin, he placed it in his pocket, and he stepped back into those wings, and the grey cloud, it began to unravel across the world, and all came. The next day, the sun did not rise. She was devastated at the loss of her moon. You know that they are bound by love and cannot exist without each other. And so, when she finally did muster the strength to move across the skies, she was too weak to burn off that cloud that stretched across the whole world. And all began to turn to grey. Crops and plants wilted. Animals became frightened, and as they always do in these moments, people began to fight. They turned on each other. Kingdoms that had been at peace for millennia were now at war. Some fled, some fought. But many believed that this was to be the end. The sun did not. It was not meant to end like this. It was supposed to end with a bridge of stars and her moon's arms. The great god of the sky may have put a stop to it then and there, but he was rather enjoying the spectacle and had retired to watch it with snacks. It seemed that everything was doomed if it had not been star. A star made a decision. It saw what was going on below, and it did something that no star ever done. Up until this point, every star was fixed where it was born. It stayed in the constellation it was put in. But our star had never felt like it had known its place in those constellations. It didn't feel like it fit. And so it thought, why not do something? Why not move? And so it shot. And the first ever star to shoot shot across the skies, not that anyone could see it. And it went to its mother. And she was so glad to see it. Weak she was, she whispered words of encouragement and told the star that it must go. It must go to the sad giant. For if anyone knew a sorrow deeper than her own, it would be her. And if anyone had the answers to their question, it would be him. And so the star did. It took all of its courage and its mother's whispering words with it to the tallest mountains in the tallest land. And at the highest peak, the star saw a man. Unmistakably a giant and endlessly sad. On his face, 1,000 lines were etched, each telling a sorrow deeper than the next. His blue eyes stared at the bright shining stone, and he spoke before it could. Little star, welcome. I am glad you have come. I know already what you will ask, and I do not have answer. But I know someone who might. When I met her, she was but a little girl. And I should like to tell you why I think she is the one for this task. And so, the sad giant began a story of the little kind girl, the history and the history of the oceans. Once, he said, there was a little girl, and she just wanted to make the sad world happy. Nothing major to ask. Okay, it was quite big. And she tried lots of different things, and none of them seemed to work. So she went to her mother. Of course, the correct thing to do whenever faced with a dilemma. Mothers always know. And her mother suggested perhaps small things may become bigger things. So why not try there? And so she did. The little girl helped wee Jimmy with his maths homework. But wee Jimmy was just bad at maths. And that was okay. He would find another path. The old lady trying to cross the street. She needed help with her shopping and the girl helped her. But it didn't seem to make a major difference. And the rambling, grumpy old man at the end of the road. No matter what our girl said or did to listen, he was always rambling and grumpy. Perhaps he preferred it that way. So she went back to her mother, who greeted her this time with a hug, as you should. And they hugged, and her mother said, my darling daughter, this question is bigger than you and I put together, and I do not have the answer. And the only person I can think of who does lives far from here. It will be quite a journey. But our little girl was brave, and she was prepared to go as far as it took to learn the answer she was looking for. And so, she took her feet and began to stroll. She strolled until she reached rivers as wide as oceans. And they were magnificent. And she saw suns rise and set. But she had no time to appreciate them, because she had a question and it needed answers. So she carried on. And she found herself in forests so dark that no life should have been there. But yet there was light and life, and animals played and ran and talked. But she could not speak with them. She could not play because there was a question, and she needed an answer. And she found herself at the foot, in the western part of the world, in the tallest mountains, in the tallest lands. They shot up from the ground and reached up to the sky until great clouds obscured their peaks. And she thought, that's a long way. Okay. And she started to climb. And she climbed, and she climbed, and she climbed, and she climbed, and she climbed. And I said this was a really long way, so she did have to climb for quite a while. But fortunately, her cardio was second to none. She kept going until she broke through those clouds. And behind her was one of the most fabulous views you could ever hope to see. But she had no time, because she had that question, and it needed answered. And not long after that, she found herself at the peak of the tallest mountain. And the tallest mountains, the tallest lands. And there he was. A sad giant. She walked straight to him, not sure what to expect. And he waited, looked at her with deep blue eyes, and said, "Welcome, little girl. Tell me, why have you come?" And our girl told her story about trying to make the sad world happy. And our giant replied, "I do not have a direct answer for your question. No one does. But I do have a story. Would you like to hear it?" Of course they got paid. Everyone likes to hear stories. And the sad giant moved his finger forward, and great clouds gathered over them, and a single raindrop fell and was caught on his fingertip. And as he began to tell his story, the sad giant said, "Little girl, look into the raindrop, and a whole world will be revealed." And so she did. And as she gazed in, the mountains faded from sight, and she entered the world of the giant's story. To begin at the beginning would be too soon. So we shall begin with the great god of the skies, early kingdom, and water. At this point, nothing lived on the land below. There was but land below. All was in that kingdom. But the great god of the sky had grown sick of water. It made his socks damp, and it was very annoying. And so, he bid that it would leave. And he banished water. The water was scared. It did not know where to go, and so instead formed itself into 100 billion raindrops, so it would be harder to move. But the great god of the sky's wife, goddess of kindness, love, she forged lowland from high, so the water may occupy the low and have a home where it would be safe. And one raindrop saw that maybe this was the way. And so it fell from the heavens and down onto the cold, hard earth. And it waited for its family. And it waited and waited. But no one joined it. One whole year went past, and our raindrop thought about giving up. And in that moment, the goddess of kindness and love spoke to her. And she said, "Little raindrop, stay. For if tomorrow another raindrop joins you, there will be twice as many of you as there were before. And if one more year, 3, and another year, 4. And I think you're starting to get the picture. So stay just one day, please." And the raindrop waited. And sure enough, the next day, another raindrop joined. And a year later, a raindrop after that. And a year later, another and another and another. I think you're starting to get it. Within 100 billion years, one single raindrop had formed an ocean. That is how they were formed, little girl. And the girl found herself taken out of the world of the story. The mountains came back, and there was sad giant looking at her. The raindrop is gone. Do you understand the meaning of this story? The little girl had to confess she did not. The sad giant said, perhaps small acts of kindness cannot make this world happy, but once a raindrop formed an ocean, and maybe one day it will be happy, and on that day I will smile, for I will know that a little girl has achieved her dreams. And so the little girl looked at him and said, thank you. Now tell me, sad giant, why are you so sad? And he replied, I am sad for the same reasons as you, and a few more of my own. But I do hope you succeed. Go, with all the luck and love in the world, go. And so she did. With a smile on her face, she took her feet back towards her. And as she headed home, she found herself just before the crest of those clouds. And she looked out on that view, and she thought, has there ever been such a splendid view to see? And she took it in. And she kept going. For those forests so dark that there should have been no light, but there was. And there were animals playing and dancing. But she stopped, and she played with them, and talked and danced. And she took her time. And she found herself crossing those great rivers as wide as oceans. And she saw the sunrise and the sunset. And she thought to herself, is there anything so magnificent as a sunrise? And she found her way back to her mother's arms, and they shared a deep embrace. And her mother asked her, did you have an answer to your question? And our girl said, yes. So, little star, the sad giant finished telling his tale of the history of the ocean and the little girl. You must go and find her. She will be older than she was, but I do not doubt she is just as kind. Together, I believe that you may do this, and that one little girl may make a sad world happy. And take this with you. And the giant produced a small bottle. It shimmered and murmured with energy and light. A lump formed in his throat and tears in his eyes. Little star, inside this bottle is a song. I wish that I would be able to hear it for myself, but I know now why it was given to me. Take it. I do not know when or why, but there will be a moment on your journey that you must sing this song. When you open the bottle, it will give you voice. And if you do sing that song, it might just save the world. Now when you find the girl, take this bottle and her to the witch of the northmost mountains. She will be able to help you. The star thanked the sad giant and made its way back from the west toward the east. And as it moved to the east, its mother gave it the last of her strength, so blue skies may flicker above. And so as the star flew, lakes and rivers marveled at me turning blue just for a moment. Meadows burst into bloom, and rolling green hills became green again, no longer grey. And as the star travelled at night, it could see its siblings. It was never far from them. But when it looked behind, it always saw that grey cloud and was reminded of its past. And eventually, it came to the home of the little girl. Not so little. It was a beautiful place. Imagine a stream running, gentle hills in the distance giving way to forests, kind and trusted paths, taking people here, there, and everywhere. And in this wee village, crafts, small houses, stone or mud brick walls leading up to thatch roofs, and from them listing lazily into the skies, smoke from hearths. And round those hearths stories would have been told, laughter and meals shared. It was a lovely place. And eventually our star found her, the girl, not so little anymore, about 14, 15 maybe. And it saw her, she saw it, and she smiled as it shined brightly and revelled in seeing blue skies just for a moment. But then she blocked an attack from her right with her training stick and an attack from her left. She jumped over the top of the back and backflipped another one and then front flipped one after that. She was having one another fun. She chopped left, she chopped right, that was the wrong way. She went right again. She sidestepped to the left. It was like a dance and then flipped to the left. Down with the right, one on one now. Really getting to enjoy this. Little shimmy to the right, little shimmy to the left. I do not know my lesson from my right. She played with them. She spun them round, she made them dizzy, and then a willow chop at their feet. Down they went like sackful potatoes. Never fully understood that expression. It's great. Her training partners were in a mild amount of pain, but they laughed. "You're just too quick for me," said one. "Far too fast," agreed another. "How do you do it?" added the third. The girl just smiled at them and said, "Once a raindrop formed an ocean." They all frowned and agreed that that made literally no sense. Our girl just laughed and carried on. And they began to walk home. The star looked down on her and thought, as they talked and smiled and she made them laugh, that she did seem kind. It hadn't expected her to be quite so badass. Well, the star didn't use that word, obviously. It had no concept of badass, but that's what she was. So, the right way to use it. But she did seem kind, concluded the star. And as her friends and her walked, she felt their love, for they all loved her. She loved them. But there were others who loved her too, in a different way. But that, she had never felt too sure about. Boys and girls alike had suggested things that she didn't know if she wanted. That always made her feel very confused. She headed home to her mother's house. And when she entered, it was brighter than it had ever been. Waiting for her was the star, and her mother had tears of joy and sorrow in her eyes. The star told its tale about how the world was going to end, about how it had been sent by its mother the sun to the sad giant who had sent it to her, and about how she was the only one the sad giant believed could save the sad world. "Awesome!" cried our girl. The star was confused. "I suppose, in a sense, our task will inspire awe," said the star. "No! It's awesome! Incredible!" said our girl. "Perhaps this will make him smile. And if this is to be the end of all things, at least we'll have done something." They had one night, her mother and her, and so they shared stories, of course, and many cups of tea, and many hugs, as is only right. And at dawn, they made good to leave. And as the star and the girl began to wander to the northmost mountains where the witch lived, our girl dropped her bravado and revealed understandable nerves. She spoke of how she was worried she might not do it. She might not be the right person. Why would it be her? And the star told her, indeed, of how it had felt it never fit in this world. But our girl looked at the star and said, "At least we're having an adventure. And on an adventure, people meet people, don't they?" The star was confused again. "Of course, people meet people. We're going to meet someone now." "No," said our girl. meet people in a romantic sense. Do you know what I mean? The star did not know what she meant. I know what you mean, said the star. I've just never met anyone I felt like that about. And maybe with an adventure, maybe I will. Maybe you will find your place. The star agreed that that was what it hoped to do. And so they wandered. And as they wandered past waterfalls running too fast, the glaciers were melting. Great rains were coming from the grey clouds and making all turn from ice to water. The hillsides that should have been green were grey. The world was in a bad place. And whenever they looked back, they saw that cloud. And so, to keep themselves happy, they sang a song. And it went just a little bit like this.
Stops falling down, then I'll be looking out for more. Another day, another time, new roads I'm searching for. When the rain breaks apart through mirrored streets I'll tread, I'll turn around and leave this town, the sleeping and the dead. And no, there's no one I can see, just ghosts who walk beside of me. Travelers and pilgrims who wander England's ways. A history and memory are caught in summer's haze. And as the road goes ever on, I'll hear their footsteps fall. Through orchard groves their silence grows as clear as the birds call. I'll stop a while and think about how the wind it sounds the same as it blows along these ancient roads towards the ocean spray. And no, there's no one I can see, just ghosts who walk beside of me. Travelers and pilgrims who wander England's ways. Their history and memory are caught in summer's haze. And no, there's no one I can see, just ghosts who walk beside of me. Travelers and pilgrims who wander England's ways. Their history and memory are caught in summer's haze.
This moment in her story, our girl, not sure what was going to happen next, remember all tucked up in bed, mother telling the tale that her mother decided, rather strangely, a third cup of tea was what was needed. So she said to her daughter, I am going to go and boil the kettle. It will probably take about 15 minutes. So I would suggest we all take a break for about 15 minutes and unsurprisingly meet back here then. So I hope you're all having a lovely evening with my daughter. And we'll see you very soon. Thank you very much, everyone.